I think at this point in the channel, I am absolutely and finally ready to admit my ultimate love for Batman. It's not something that I read every single day, it's not something that's even in my regular rotation of different books, but it's something that I know that every single time I go to the comic book shop and pick up some new storyline or some new run, it's something that I'm going to absolutely have a blast with, because Batman is set in such a variety of different situations and scenarios that the only time I'm really disappointed are in some of the old stuff like Elsewhere, things where they don't really have enough time or pages to actually flesh out the story that they want to tell in any kind of like meaningful way. And with all the shoulder dislocations and the rib smashing and that skull penetration and everything that this Dark Crusader does, to even admitting that he's trying to explode people's kidneys, knowing that they'll merely go to the hospital and 6 months later they'll be sent on trial, I think the thing that I love the most about the Batman is the times where we get into the emotional headspace of this man. Something that we don't really ever touch down on, obviously, besides his parents dying and things like that, things that have been beaten over the head 1,000 times, but when we actually get to see what is inside this man's heart. And with the story that we're going to be covering today, we will see exactly this. Although the Batman won't actually just come out right and say it, we would have to see Catwoman go all the way to Paris, try to actually steal something from a museum from a very special somebody who actually holds the pieces that would rip this truth out of Batman's very mouth. And honestly, while it is a short story and it's nothing that's too crazy, it is something that I found absolutely heartwarming, absolutely sweet, and a nice in-between of all the violence of Batman and all the detective work. And honestly, I never really thought I'd say, but I do enjoy me a Batman romance story. Now, this is a story for Batman the World, something that I've covered previously on this channel, and if you've never really seen it, I highly recommend you go pick yourself up a copy, because there's just so many different stories from all sorts of regions and locations, all sorts of different writers and artists and things like that, that it manages to be, and just in general, a fun read. Something you can sit down in one sitting and be pretty happy about. There's not really a lot of duds in this thing, and it's definitely something that I enjoy covering. But like I said previously, our story will begin in Paris, France, as we see Catwoman walking up to this giant museum in the middle of the night. And as we cut to the next panel, we would see her deploying her whip, catching the nearest window and pulling herself through as she has made herself inside. She'll begin to notice all the different artworks, and at a first glance you would think that this is just another Selina Kyle hijinks, that she's here to steal some art, but really what she wants is some deep emotion. And while you might be wondering exactly how she's going to be finding this at a museum other than looking at some very beautiful paintings and things of the sort, you will see soon enough that she is after a much bigger goal. But as she's looking around at all these different paintings and statues, she notices one in particular, a woman with no arms and absolutely no shirt to be seen, and as she's just kind of sitting there snickering to herself, she would feel a presence in the room, something darker, something with a 20-foot cape that is very hard to hide. And as she begins to look behind her, she would notice the Batman sitting, waiting, and watching. "Did you cross the Atlantic Ocean just for me? That's so sweet. Selina, you must leave now." "Oh, Bat, I don't think so. What are you doing?" And with the next panel, we would see Selina Kyle once again, deploying her whip and actually trying to snatch up the Batman's legs, trying to buy herself some time as this man goes tumbling to the floor and she sends herself straight over the balcony. And as she continues to run away, Batman continues to yell out loud that she mustn't, that she has no idea. And as he begins to chase her down, he would notice Selina Kyle staring at the Mona Lisa, exclaiming how beautiful this painting is, and he would tell her that she wouldn't dare. And as Selina Kyle continues to snicker, telling him that she actually wouldn't dare to steal such a beautiful thing from such a beautiful place. And once again, Selina Kyle is running away. "Selina, stop! We have to talk! Catch me if you can, Bat, but you wouldn't dare either." And as Batman goes for a last-ditch effort, he would throw one of his batarangs directly at Selina Kyle, as something in this museum has a very heavy presence, and obviously Batman knows that something very dangerous is here. But as this batarang goes flying past one of these paintings, we would see Selina Kyle dive for it and actually grab and reverse it, calling Batman her funny bunny and actually telling him that he doesn't really understand the French, telling him that they would not care for a batarang to be thrown at such an awesome painting. And as she begins to throw the batarang back at Bruce Wayne, he would say out loud that her love for artwork is absolutely going to be her downfall. And as he catches his own gadget, he would explain to Selina Kyle that Wayne Enterprises actually paid for the restoration of this painting, that this is something that the French would miss. And as Selina Kyle continues to run away, she tells him that this is something that she did dare to steal. And suddenly Batman is absolutely flabbergasted, because not all the money went to just the restoration, but actually to install a brand new security system. And by the time this painting has been gone for God knows how long, nobody has even noticed, and he merely asked her where exactly she kept the original. And in reply, Selena Kyle says that if he came to her bedroom once in a while, then you would actually see that it's directly above her headboard. And as she says this, Batman would go for a final lunge, actually bringing Selena Kyle down to the ground and pinning her there, telling her that she wouldn't like it. And with this statement, Selena Kyle has no idea what he's talking about. She begins to wonder if there's yet another woman that this man is literally chasing throughout the streets every single night, as he's done with her for God knows how many decades at this point. And Bruce Wayne goes on to say that he's not talking about another woman, that he's talking about the curator of the museum, somebody very powerful and somebody that she cannot afford to be caught by. She's guarding the museum. She mustn't find you here. Come on, let's just go, now. And what if I wanted her to find me? Then you'd be successful. I've been watching you on the security monitor since you walked in here. This is not a kindergarten or a training dome. This is a temple dedicated to art and history. And we do not mess with art. And we definitely don't mess with history. And suddenly, Wonder Woman is shown. The curator of the museum, and definitely somebody that Catwoman would absolutely have no way of defending herself against. And we can finally kind of see why Batman is so worried. Because if somebody like this can catch Catwoman, that this might actually be the last time she ever tries to steal anything again. That this could be the final moment where Catwoman is finally sent to prison, like what the rest of the villains should actually have been done to. But yet, Catwoman still does not really seem to be fazed whatsoever. And she actually tells Diana that the only thing she came here to mess with is her face itself. And as Catwoman goes in for a final lunge for whatever she's been after this entire time, Batman would call out and tell Diana that Catwoman is not here to steal art, that there's clearly something else, and that she knew that not only Bruce Wayne would be here, but Wonder Woman as well. And at this point, Diana has no concern. She has her lasso of truth, and as she begins to whip it towards Catwoman, Catwoman would actually do a giant 360 spin and actually catch this. And this is where her plan would actually be revealed. Kicking Wonder Woman to the ground and wrapping the lasso of truth around Batman. And as the smoke begins to clear, not only Bruce Wayne, but Wonder Woman herself begin to see what this final plan could be. And with the next couple of panels, we would see Catwoman walk up to Batman as he's completely refined to the space that's been allotted to him by the lasso of truth, and we would see her whisper something into Bruce Wayne's ear and then begin to smile. And with the next panel, we would see Batman only utter the words, "Until the day that I die." So is that so difficult, my Dark Knight? All that ruckus? Just for this? You've got to be kidding me. And really, the only thing that I think that Catwoman could have possibly asked Batman is whether or not he actually loved her. That after all these decades of playing cat and mouse, literally once again chasing her through the streets. And I find it absolutely hilarious that it took this much effort just to get the man to finally admit his feelings for her. Something that I find so incredibly sweet. It's such a creative way of actually pulling these words out of Bruce Wayne, as this man is incredibly emotionally guarded. A man who really only talks about his emotions when he's talking about his dead parents. Something that happened over 3 decades ago, man. Just get over it, alright? Find yourself a wife. And at this point in the story, I can only see Alfred in the movies just kind of shedding a tear for something that is finally maybe going to happen. As maybe Batman could actually find love in Selena Kyle. And there is a set of different comic books that would say no, that Batman will never stop fighting. But in this moment of time, we can sit down and appreciate all the effort that Selena Kyle has went to literally rip the words out of this man's mouth. That it took her crossing the oceans, going all the way to Paris, and actually breaking into a museum just to finally get him to say these things. Now that is a very stubborn and emotionally blocked man. But with the next panel, we would see Selena Kyle and Batman just kind of standing next to each other, as Batman would begin to ask her that she knows all the hot spots and where will be a good spot for them. And with this question, I don't really understand if maybe they're talking about getting married or maybe just a good spot for a date. It's never quite said, but with this, Wonder Woman just explained that for once, price is not on the menu. That for once in your life, Bruce Wayne, you need to be romantic. And with our ending shot, we would see Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle walking down the streets of Paris and holding hands. Something so simple and something so sweet, and this would actually be the end of our story. Something very small, something that's not entirely fleshed out, but like I said in the beginning, after so many years of seeing Batman just kicking ass through the city, working with Spawn, defeating Scarecrow, and going through all these different trials and tribulations, it's nice to actually finally see this man sit down and actually tell somebody that he loves them, alright? Batman deserves this, Selena Kyle deserves this, and it's a story out of Batman the World that I really appreciate it for myself. I think there's 2 or 3 different stories that kind of hit a very wholesome note. I'd say the story right after this one where Batman actually finally takes a vacation and realizes just how boring it is to actually sit on the beaches looking at his phone or just going out to different bars and things like that. The thing he really wants is to be fighting crime, and it's It's a very interesting story, and honestly, Batman the World is something that I highly recommend. And I just thought it'd be interesting to share that there actually is a Batman romance story. I guess you could say that through all the different women he's met, from Ra's al Ghul's daughter to Poison Ivy, all these people are playing flirtatious games, and to say flirtatious games with Ra's al Ghul's daughter after actually being the mother of his child might seem a little far-fetched. I can only really imagine one person ending up with Batman. Selena Kyle, the Catwoman, the woman who has been here the entire time. But yes, everybody, I hope you enjoyed that. I know a lot of times on this channel we mostly just cover like horror and things like that, but it's nice to sit down and get something very sweet, and it's something that me personally I enjoy very much. Alright, I think it fits it. I think it's an awesomely creative way to finally get Bruce Wayne to admit his feelings to anybody, to even tell Alfred himself that he loves him. Alright, by God, the man deserves it. He sits up at night and cries over this guy. But yes, it's nice to just get something different once in a while, to see a full variety of different situations, scenarios that Batman could be placed in, and every time I come across one of these little wholesome stories, it just hits me right in the heartstrings. I hope it's something that maybe touched you as well. Alright, tell your significant other that you love them. Alright, don't make them bring you all the way to Paris, break into a museum, steal some artwork, sell it on the black web, and then take you on a vacation with the money. Alright, that's pretty far. Alright, you could just say, I love you. Alright, I'm saying it to you right now. But yes, everybody, have yourself a fantastic night. Thank you so much for watching. Check the description down below and join the Discord. We have about 7 or 8 people in there. Come on and chat with us, and maybe eventually we can sit down, play some games, do whatever, just chit chat, talk about movies and music that we like, anything really. But most importantly, have a great day, and thank you so much for watching.